Hi, I'm Kathy Lincoln, and we're here at Artistic Artifacts, and we are going to play with fabric and embroidery today. I am going to show you how you can create this bag. This is the Japanese rice bag. It is this pattern, and you can make it in 3 sizes. The size I just showed you is the large size. This one is the small size, and it has the same designs on it. This one is called Hooked on Fish. The other one is Mermaids at Heart. They're both OESD designs. I made the little one as a companion to this slouch bag. Now this is the designs are OESD, and this pattern is a free pattern on the OESD website.
And what was the name of that again?
Slouch. It's called Susie's Slouch Bag.
Okay, thanks.
So, 2 different sizes. There's actually a 3rd size in the pattern as well. The bulk of the directions make the smaller one, but if you turn to the very last page where it says Fun Tip, it gives you the dimensions that you need for the other 2 sizes. So you're not limited. And actually, after you've made a couple of them, you can figure out the dimensions all by yourself. It's really not hard.
And they're great project bags. I use them for knitting bags. They're just perfect size for a knitting project. Yeah.
And they're just, I think they're going to be Christmas presents this year.
Well, I used them as wrapping for Christmas presents. So I put my gifts inside them last year.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So this is the designs that I'm going to be working with today, the Mermaid at Heart. That is the one I use the blue bag. And then this is the design collection that's the Hooked on Fish. And these are just gorgeous. There are line designs and then the fish, and they're just wonderful. Now, the fabric I used on this bag, this is called Essex, and it's a heavier weight fabric. So I did not need to give it any extra stabilizing besides the stable stick that I used. However, if you're going to use a lighter weight quilting cotton, like I used on this one, you're going to want to put a little extra interfacing in it. And what I used was Shape Flex, which is a woven Pellon interfacing. And it is this very supple, soft, fusible stabilizer interfacing. And it adds a little extra oomph to the fabric without changing the hand of the fabric.
And what was the name of that again?
Shape Flex.
And the name of the pattern again for the bag?
Oh, it's called Modern Japanese Rice Pouch. And it's by Karen Stevens.
Yeah, KZ Stevens. And we have her pattern and several other patterns on the website.
Yeah. Now, the stabilizer we're going to be using is Stable Stick. It is a medium weight, tearaway, sticky stabilizer. It's one of my favorites because it's very versatile, and it will come out after you're done. So we are going to...
Do we have various sizes of that stabilizer?
Yes, we have it in, I believe, 10, 15, and 20 inches. I like the 20 inch no matter what size hoop I'm using, because what I end up doing is cutting the length here by my hoop width and then cutting it in half. And so I get two pieces of stabilizer with one pass. And I find that to be very helpful because I almost never have one embroidery piece to do. I usually have multiples.
Why does that not surprise us?
So we are going to, I have already put my shape flex on, and you can see it still has a lot of nice flowing body. It's not stiff.
Is that Kona cotton you're using on that?
No, it's not a
Oh,
Kona.
it's the Andover cotton?
It's the Andover
Okay,
cotton. Yeah.
all right. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining us this morning.
So it's very soft. It's very supple, and it works well in garments as well for embroidery projects.
Yeah, it's a nice fabric.
And if you have a really light fabric, like this cream colored, it prevents bleed through. So when I put my lining behind here, I won't have bleed through.
Okay, now we have one more question. Could you show the turtle embroidery? That's in...
Yes, that is, and the hook by fish.
So there's a number of different patterns.
Yes.
Oh, 19 designs in that pattern.
Yes, there's lots. There's fish. There's multiple different kinds of fish. There's a couple different turtles. And then they have the line designs of the same designs. So that you have simple one color designs, and then you have the 18 to 20 color changes on the pretty guys. So yes, there is multiple choices.
We're getting people from all over the country today, so it's nice to welcome you all to Artistic Artifacts.
So I'm going to put my stable stick that I have cut to approximately the same size as my fabric, and I'm not going to hoop up the stable stick. I am going to actually stick it to the fabric and then hoop up the entire unit.
For those just joining us, we have listed the products that Kathy's using, the patterns, the OESD pattern names, under the discussion for this event. So you can find all that. We'll also add them all at the end rather than interrupting Kathy as she's going through her demonstration this morning.
Because I'm demonstrating, it doesn't want to come undone. I'm just going to peel the paper off. And then adhere the stabilizer.
Oh, we've got... Good morning, Brenda from the UK.
So this is the sticky side, and so that's going to go down on the wrong side of my fabric, where I had my interfacing pressed on, and I'm just going to press this down, and now it's it's all stuck together, and now I have one unit that I will hoop up. And I'm using the large oval hoop, and you can tell that mine needs a good bath. I need to take some rubbing alcohol and clean it.
We also have someone from Ireland. We've got people from all over today.
Wow. It's a little thicker than your normal hooping, so you may have to loosen up that screw a bit. Just be careful you don't loosen it up too much. And then make sure you push it past. Because you don't want it to ride on the hoop. You want it to ride on the stabilizer on your stainless steel bit. If you let it ride on the hoop, you'll get etching. It may be very pretty until you have multiple layers of etching. So, I have selected my design. I am going to do this fishtail. Now this machine is the 500. It's a standalone embroidery only. It will do everything that your bigger 700s, 790 embroidery will do. It has all those same features. However, it only does embroidery, and it does not have feed dogs because you don't need feed dogs for embroidery.
So it's a nice starter machine for someone who wants to get into embroidery.
Yes.
And isn't ready to make that big investment.
Huge
yes.
investment, yes. Now, this is a lovely machine. It does a great job. it doesn't have every feature that the bigger guys have, but it has enough to get a lot done. And I will tell you, I use my large oval hoop the most anyhow. It's probably the most versatile hoop. I do have the midi, the maxi, and the jumbo because I do have an 880 which I can put my jumbo on. But I tend to use my large oval the most.
So there is a question on what are the hoops that the 500 can use?
Yes, it can use, the largest one is the midi hoop. And then the midi hoop is one that's just a little bit larger than this, and the mega hoop is the long skinny one.
And it can use the mega hoop?
It can use the mega hoop.
Okay, thanks.
The way to know is if you go to your hoop menu, and it will show you. You can use the small, the hoopin' buddies, the medium, the oval, the midi, and the mega. On the screen, when you go to the hoop menu, it will tell you whatever hoop you can use. So when you go to look at a machine, make them show you the hoop menu, and then you'll know for sure. And if you ever forget the sizes, I do this all the time. All the sizes are in millimeters right there on the screen. So if I ever forget, I don't have to have it written down anywhere. I just turn on my machine and look for it. It's all in the hoop menu. So let me go here. I'm going to get this started. Okay. Now, one of the things that you have to do that's different from the bigger guys is you have to actually drop your foot down just like old school stuff. And now I'm ready to go ahead and start. And while this is stitching, I am going to show you a lot of the other features of the things that we need to do. I'm going to cut that little thread here. There we go. So it doesn't get caught. So while this is stitching, and it is rather mesmerizing, but this is going to be stitching for 19 minutes on this one color. So we are going to look at some of the other finishing pieces and the things that you will want to do to prepare your bag for its final construction.
And you'll just need to talk over the machine.
Yes, I can be loud. I can be very loud. Ask my children.
Pat, I think we're okay. It might it might be your connection.
Yes, this is going to be the fourth piece that I'm going to put in here. What I have done is, because this bag I need to have this final piece be 33 inches by 10 inches. Once I get this fourth piece in, I will then figure out the math to put in these side sashes. I don't go ahead and just automatically do it. I wait till I get it all done. That way, if I need to, I can trim these up a little bit more, or I can add a bigger strip, depending upon whatever I need to make it to 33 inches. So this will need to be 33 inches, and that will depend upon how I cut this one. And I will measure them, add those side strips, and then you'll be ready to sew into a circle. And you will sew both the top, the pretty stuff, and then the lining. This is my lining. And what's important when you sew the lining together to make the circle is you need to make sure you leave the turning hole.
Ask me why I'm laughing.
If you don't leave that, you're going to be unhappy. You'll have to cut one and make one. And actually, I think this one is a little too small. I should have made it a little more open, but I can get it through.
Where there's a will, there's a way sometimes.
Yes, there is. the bottom, you have to mark a 1/2 inch, because all the seam allowances for constructing the bag are 1/2 inch. And that's a lot different from your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you have to remember that, especially when you're sewing, because the math works perfectly with a 1/2 inch seam allowance when you're constructing the bag. So what you're going to do is you're going to mark, and I'm using pen here, which is I wouldn't normally do. Oh, okay. My pen doesn't want to work. There we go. Nice big dot. You have to be able to see it. And you're going to do that in all 4 corners. And this is actually rather crucial. And don't worry about using a pen. What you have to do is use a marking tool that you can see. Okay, so I have all 4 corners marked. I am going to put right sides to right sides. And I'm going to straddle this seam here somewhere in the middle of the first side. And this is the only time I actually do the pinning on this, because I want it to stay put and not fall apart. Okay, now I'm ready to go to the machine. I'm using the 475, the big 475. It's a nice little machine. It is perfect for classing, carrying to class. It's much easier to carry than the bigger machines. And so it will make sure that you don't break your back. And I'm going to start at that first dot. So I have lined up the dot, and I have to make sure that I have my 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm using the 1/2 inch marking on my plate here. Good. And I am going to do, this is the only place I'm going to do a little back tack, because it is the only place that is going to not be crossed over. So I'm just making sure everything is nice and smooth, and I'm using my 1/2 inch marking on the bed of my machine. And I'm going to stop when I get to the next dot here. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Actually, I'm going to do 1 stitch more. Okay. I'm going to pivot. So this is why you need to have your needle down. And I am going to turn the fabric. And I'm going to make sure it's smooth and that I have the raw edges lined up. And the bulk out of the way. Then put the foot down. Go a little way and then readjust.
I think making that turn the first time you do it is a little bit tricky, but by having your needle down and pulling the bulk out of the way, it becomes pretty natural to get this fitted in.
And you'll be doing this both for the lining and for the front. Yep, right on the dot. And with your needle down, you can lift up the foot and you won't lose your place. Oh, I must have become unthreaded here.
Oh no.
Yes, okay. We are going to start. Yes, I became unthreaded.
It wouldn't be a demo.
If I didn't have something go wrong, yes. But you can see it's not hard to thread. And the automatic needle threader or semi-automatic needle threader works really well. So I'm going to start over again.
Kathy Box says that the freehand system works really well with this pattern.
Yes. And I do have that attached, but when you're moving all the bulk out of the way, sometimes it's easier to lift up the foot and actually have it physically out of the way. The first time I did set in the bottom, it was a little awkward, and I felt like I wasn't doing it really well, but it ended up so perfectly, and it matched.
Yeah, having done myself several of Casey Stevens' patterns, I find they're very well written, and if you follow the instructions, she's very good about walking you through all the steps you need to take.
And the illustrations are great.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will tell you, it makes no difference. You can use total scraps. I decided I want to do the embroidery because I can. But if you just have scraps, you can sew the scraps together until it gets to the right size. And if it's not the perfect size, that's what a rotary cutter is for.
I'd actually just finished one that I actually completely hand stitch, which I don't usually hand stitch the bag together. I hand stitch embellish it. But my Bernina was at the spa, so I hand stitched it together. So it's not a big bag to try some hand stitching on. Paula, I'm sorry you missed the first 15 minutes. We will save the video, and it will also get posted on our YouTube channel in the next day or so, so you can catch it there as well. All of Kathy's previous demonstrations, which she's done about once a month now for us, are on our YouTube channel, in addition to lots of other mixed media demonstrations.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just getting around the corner, and you can't see it, but I can feel it that there's no bulk where I'm going to be stitching. Getting ready to go to the last side. And because you're working with a Bernina, you have absolute stitch control. You notice that I can do one stitch at a time if necessary. And this is the last side, so I'm just going to make sure I have all the bulk out of the way and everything lined up.
Jen, you could get started on your Christmas wrapping projects with some of our Christmas in July fabrics that are just starting to come in now.
I'm just going to make sure the bulk is out of the way, and I'm going to go to that dot. And this is another place I'm going to back tack. Okay.
So the question is from the needle to the front edge of the foot is a half an inch, or you're
No,
doing
I'm-
the half inch on your stitch
No,
plate?
I'm using the stitch plate, and that's where the half-inch marking is. And this is very accurate. I've had no problems, and you'll see it went in perfectly. No lumps or bumps. At every corner is a nice corner. And just poke it out there. So you can see that this is a nice square. And the math works perfectly. This piece started at 33 by 10 inches, which is what my
The big
background,
bag is.
the big bag will be, and that's what my outside of the bag will be when I finish the embroidery.
So Christine wanted to know that from the front edge of the foot to the needle, what is the measurement of that?
Oh, from the front edge? I actually don't know, but I have a little ruler. Okay, so from the needle to the front edge, let's move it down here. Are you talking to the tips or to the inside here?
To where?
To here or to
Well,
here?
let's do the inside is.
This is roughly, it's a little bit more than a 1/4 inch on the side. It is like 5/16.
Okay.
I think that the width of the foot is on both sides is about 5/16.
Okay.
So you would not use this as a 1/4 inch guide unless you moved your needle. But I have the needle in the center position because I was using
The 1/2 inch.
the 1/2 inch on my stitch plate.
And Christine, you're right. If you look to the very tip of it, it did look like about a 1/2 inch to the very tip of the foot. But kind of irrelevant for the process.
Right, because I had it marked with that dot. And that's the key, is to mark that 1/2 inch up and in on all 4 corners. Because that's where you stop and that's where you pivot. And then you get this lovely, this is the lining. And you'll see that the corners are perfect and there's no extra bulk in there. And I'm not going to trim out anything. I'm just going to leave all that extra fabric in there because it stabilizes it and it supports it. And this is not that heavy a fabric anyhow. So that's how you put the bottom in, and you'll do that for the top as well as the lining. And when you sew it together, everything's going to go sewn together around the top, and then you're going to turn it through your turning hole, which you have made sure you left.
So it's sewn right sides together?
Right sides together, yes. Once you have the 2 pieces made, and you do have to put the bottom in the top side. I didn't do that the first time, so I had to rip out all the way around the top. I didn't understand I had to do it twice. Everyone makes at least one mistake when they try a new pattern.
So Christine, who asked about the foot, says, Sylvain compliments Bernina on the preciseness of its feet, and so does she.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you ever get a chance to take a class with Sylvain, he is so much fun. I try to take one every time I go to BU.
Oh, Andy, hi. Thanks for signing in from Bahrain.
Oh, wow. Okay. So once you have all the bag pieces made, you need to make your drawstring. Now, they suggested cording. Well, I thought it was prettier to use the same fabric for my drawstring. And you also have to make the little holders for the drawstrings to go through. This is in the instructions. It's really easy peasy. You just cut the fabric, you finish 2 sides, fold it in half, pin it to the front side of your fabric. Now with the larger bag, I needed 6 of them because 4 would not be too much. There'd be too many gaps for things to fall out. And I don't need things falling out of my bag. I have enough problems, but that's not what I want to have. So you make those pieces. They get sewn in when you sew the lining to the front of the bag. Then to do your, and I made 2 different sizes. I made a smaller one for the smaller bag and the bigger one for the bigger bag, just because I like proportional things. And I have the ability to do that. So we are going to, I have these Clover bias tape makers. This is the 12 millimeter, which I use for the narrower drawstring, and then the 25, which will make a wider drawstring. This is not absolutely essential, but I will tell you it makes your life a lot simpler.
Betty, the patterns are from OESD, and we have listed them in the discussion on the event, and we will also put them as a comment on here after the video is finished, so you can find the pattern numbers.
So when you cut the strips, you're going to cut them twice as big as, so this 12 millimeters is roughly, that's 24 millimeters, and that's roughly an inch, in very round figures. And this is, so I have cut a 1-inch strip.
And that's with the 12 millimeter.
That's with a 12 millimeter, yeah. And this will make this smaller. And you can see it folds it. And then you take your iron and you just pull. And then once you get it all the way done, you fold it in half again. And you press it. And then all you do is top stitch. And you have your drawstring. So that is the fastest and easiest way of doing this. So that's the size for the 12 millimeter. Let me show you what the size for the 25 is. Just so that you have a feeling for it. And once you start using these, you're going to want the whole collection anyhow. I have them in every single size they make them. Because I can.
Andy's already saying he's got to get it.
I think that the 12 and the 25 are the most useful. That and the 1/4 inch. And you do need a pin, or I have these really lovely sharp tweezers.
And actually, Christine says that she uses her Bernina binder foot.
You can use that too. Not everyone has one, but if you have one, go for it. Because that will stitch it at the same time.
Yeah, so she said everything's done in one step.
I got a twist here. There we go. There we go. Get rid of the twist, and now it's going to work much better.
Paula says she's had these but has never used them, so thanks for...
Yeah, and then you just fold it over, and you can see the size difference. So, this is the size from the 12, and this is the size from the 25. So this started as a 2-inch strip, this started as a 1-inch strip.
And Betty has a good suggestion that the Bianni stiletto would work great for starting those tie strips.
It would. I used to use just a pin because that's the easiest and handiest thing you have available. But once you get them all pressed, then I take them to the machine and I edge stitch. I don't even finish the ends. Because if you notice on my bag here, those ends are not finished. I just tied them in the knot. They are not going to go anywhere. And what you'll do is you'll make 2 of those drawstrings, and one will go in one direction, and then the other one will go in the other direction. So it will not go all the way around. It will only, one will go like, one went 3 down this side, and then down this side, and then the other one went 3 in the opposite direction. And that way, they automatically draw together. And then you can tie them. You can make a bow. This is why this would be really perfect for gift wrapping. And then you have your little present. I like that idea. I think that's going to be, that's the project. I'm ready to change my color here. And let me show you how easy that is. And I will tell you that I don't always use the colors they tell me I'm supposed to use. I'm a little ornery that way. I don't like being bossed around. So I actually base my colors on my fabric. Now with the fish, I kind of did follow their instructions because that was a lot of changes. But some of these smaller ones, it's not that hard at all.
And you're using the Wonderfil Polyfast?
Yes. And I have Deco Bob in the bobbin. I like, because no one's going to see the wrong side, because it's going to be lined. I don't worry about matching, so it's actually going to be white on the back side. And look how pretty that's stitched. So my next color is black. And I actually did follow the instructions on this one because I do need that contrast between the fabric and this fish. Now on this machine you do have a vertical and you do have a horizontal spool pin. It tends to feed off better for the cross-wound threads on the horizontal spool pin, which is what I'm using. And I just love that threader, especially as my eyes mature. So, okay. And this one's going to be very quick. And I have, oops, I forgot. Because I have a 700 and an 880 at home, it automatically drops by itself. I just have to remember that on the smaller machines, I have to manually drop the foot pedal. I've gotten spoiled. So this is going to go on its merry way. I've talked about the drawstrings. I've talked about the construction. And these are the other pieces that are going to go with.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, this is a good time for questions.
Because I think you have an appointment for a big machine coming in this morning, right?
Yeah, I do.
No questions? Oh, Kathy has a multi-spool holder for her embroidery.
Yes, I do like that. I have that on my 700 and I have my 880 as well. I'm not sure it would fit on the 500, but that was something I did find out.
All right. Is that the new embroidery attachment?
No, this is not the new Smart Drive technology. They are coming out with a Smart Drive technology for the 5 series. However, we have not received ours yet. We do have the ones for the 7s and 8s.
And I think you've got a 7, so that is in. Actually, Deborah said you are an excellent teacher.
Thank you.
And somebody actually asked if you made your top of the pattern name. It's a habitat, right?
It's a habitat. I could have made it, but I chose to buy it.
Probably from Ruthie's.
I did.
Ruthie's comes to the quilt shows when we used to go to quilt shows, yes.
Yes, and I did a lot of really good clothes shopping at quilt
I think we all did. Sue says she's got the multi-spool on her 570, and she loves it, yeah.
Okay, that means that the adapter works.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, I will add the all the products that she used today and the pattern number and everything a little bit later today. We'll get it up on YouTube and watch us next week. I'm not sure what our Facebook Live is Saturday morning, but we do have one every Saturday morning at 9:30, so we'll see you here. Thanks for joining us from all over the world today. Thank you.
Thank you.